Hey, can someone tell me what time it is? Actually, no, sorry. I wasn't talking about that clock. I was talking about this one. And those numbers are as of Monday, October 18th, 2:49 p.m. Now, as you can see, our national debt is nearing $28.9 trillion with the likelihood of actually surpassing $30 trillion before the year ends. As a matter of fact, our national debt since 2000 has doubled every single decade. Hey, compound interest, right? Now, of course, this is the result of our government spending way more than it's brought in every single year, pretty much for the last 100 years. But today, in 2021, how does this issue actually get resolved? Because there's absolutely no chance that we're gonna fix all this without there being any major consequences. So in this video, I'll be covering the potential consequence and the solution to the amount of debt we have in this country. Now, before we move on to the first point, I wanna spend a quick minute addressing arguably the most important factor in all of this, which is who owns our debt. And whoever owns it, what can they do about it? Because at the end of the day, we're America. We're number one. Our military can crush any military in the world. But of course, debt is not just an American issue, it's actually a global issue. Because according to Reuters, the global debt is actually, as of 2021, approaching and nearing $300 trillion. How can the world be in debt? Who do we owe all that money to? Aliens? Well, the fact of the matter is that a lot of the world's debt is owned by the world. And if we're going back to just talking about the United States specifically, a vast majority of the US debt is actually owned by the public, specifically 78.49%. And if we're talking about the other 21.51%, it's actually owned by what's known as intragovernmental debt, which, for those of you not familiar with that term, this is pretty much debt that is owed from one government agency to another, henceforth the name intragovernmental debt. Now, a great example is one government agency such as Social Security, which brings in a lot more tax revenue than it actually spends, investing a lot of that spread towards something like a US Treasury, which is a fancy way of saying, hey, I'm gonna invest into debt and have that pay me back. Now, in talking about public debt, which public is non-US government oriented debt, which again, as we discussed earlier in the video, is 78.49% of all the debt that the US holds. Well, as of 2021, 7 trillion of that is actually held by foreign and international governments, i.e. Japan and China being the leaders. 1.17 trillion is held by state and local governments. Mutual funds are at 3.6 trillion, and the remainder is owned by assortment of pension funds, banks, insurance companies, and private retail investors. Now, obviously, these are all big numbers. They're only getting bigger, and unfortunately, they're not going away anytime soon. So what is the solution, or perhaps the consequence? Which leads us to point number one, which is the Great Reset. Yeah, I know. The Davos agenda in which you will own nothing and you will be happy. We know it all too well on this very channel. Now, one has to ask, is this the knight in shining armor solution to our debt problem, or is it a prison sentence to which we, the hardworking Americans, have to pay for the crimes of the government? Because on one hand, the Great Reset offers the elimination of all debt and also the centralization of the global economy. And well, considering that the global debt is approaching $300 trillion, maybe it's time for the reset. No! Oh wait, but then again, we value stuff like personal freedom, generational wealth, and common sense. But in all seriousness, obviously, this might not seem like the best option because the Great Reset is all about eliminating your personal debt and has nothing to do with eliminating, national debt or global debt for whatsoever. Which, by the way, I find it hilarious that when we as Americans have personal debt, it's major cause for concern and we need a Great Reset. But all of a sudden, when it comes to government debt or global debt, it seems to be considered normal. Now, at this point, one may say, well, Daniel, what if we had a variation of that, right? Because I get the Great Reset, it's bad, we don't want it to happen, but what if we created something where it did eliminate the debt, but at the same time, we still kept our personal freedoms, our ability to create generational wealth, and really our personal sovereignty? And well, that, my friends, is actually what leads us to point number two, which with thorough research, I found out that this was already attempted by a man named Harvey Barnard, which in the late 80s and 90s proposed something known as NESARA, aka the National Economic Security and Recovery Act. Now, long story short, this proposal never really made it to Congress. The farthest it got was Barnard sending copies of his book, Draining the Swamp, Monetary and Fiscal Policy Reform, 1996, to members of Congress, hoping that it would gain some traction, but unfortunately it never really occurred and nothing was really made of it ever again. Now, to summarize NESARA in a nutshell, the proposal included cancellation of all credit cards, mortgages, and other bank debt due to illegal banking and government activities. Many refer to this as jubilee, the old Jewish term for the complete forgiveness of debt. It would create a 17% flat tax on non-essential new items. Therefore, food, water, and medicine will not be taxed. It increases benefits to senior citizens, abolishes the income tax, abolishes the IRS, initiates new U.S. Treasury banking systems in alignment with constitutional law, eliminates the Federal Reserve System completely, and creates a new Treasury rainbow currency that is backed by gold, silver, platinum, and precious metals. Now, honestly, as I read this out loud, all of this sounds great to me personally, right? I mean, it sounds phenomenal. It sounds like what an economy should be run by. However, it unfortunately received a lot of backlash, with the backlash being multiple criticism towards the leaders who are pushing NESARA, calling it a cult. A lot of people were saying that, they were manipulating and soliciting their readers for donations, and it kind of got thrown into the whole bucket of conspiracy theory. Now, even all that aside, and I may have to do more research on my end with NESARA, but with this one, I just don't see yet how it would actually solve the aspect of national debt and also global debt in a whole. It would cause somewhat of a domino effect. But hey, if you know more about NESARA than I do, please comment down below, and I would love to hear your thoughts on how it could actually save the national debt crisis and also the global debt crisis, because a lot like you guys, of course, I also want to learn. Hey guys, Daniel here. Hope you're enjoying the video so far. Just wanted to pop in real quick and say that if you're an accredited investor, my brother and I have a very exciting investment opportunity for you. Myself, Sam, and a bunch of our business associates have been working on a really cool investment opportunity for the last 3 years. So if you want to get more information on it, I encourage you to click the link in the description below. It's literally going to be the first link that you see in the description. So again, this opportunity is only for accredited investors. So with that said, enjoy the rest of the video. I want to announce that next Tuesday, I'm going to be releasing a video in terms of my take on how we could potentially solve the national debt crisis and also the global debt crisis. So with that reason, please subscribe to our YouTube channel so you don't miss that video. Also like this video. And if you're feeling extra generous, I encourage you to share this video with your friends because hey, the more that we can talk about this stuff, the smarter we can be and the better financial decisions that we can make for us and our family. So with that said, thank you, love you all so much, and I'll see you guys in the next one.